Welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast with your hosts, Vernon and Nigel. The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds.
Hello and welcome to this week's Red Shirt Podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Coming up on this week's show, we'll be discussing the 0-0 dour draw at Leeds. We'll be speaking about United's protest last Saturday at Old Trafford. We will be previewing United's semi-final in the Europa League with Roma. And yes, this Sunday, it's the big one. It's Liverpool. So, thank you for joining us on the Red Shirt Podcast with Vernon and Nigel. And this week, we've got two fantastic guests. We've got making her Red Shirt debut, Natalie. How are you doing, Natalie?
Thanks for having me on. I'm doing good. Can't wait to get started.
And we've also got Errol, one of our familiar panelists. You okay, Errol?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well and good.
Good. And how are you, Nigel? You all right?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good. So, anyway, we'll kick it off. And if we can, we're going to talk about yesterday's dour 0-0 draw at Leeds. So, Natalie, what did you get from that game? How did you feel afterwards? Were you able to stay awake?
I didn't get much from it. It was sort of, I was flicking in and out. I wasn't flicking in and out, but I was just sort of watching it thinking, come on, give us something. And, I don't know whether all this with the ESL is what's, European Super League, what sort of caused a bit of it, because we saw Chelsea were not on it as much. And, Liverpool obviously getting a draw, not being able to score. So I don't know if, I'm not saying that's an excuse, because obviously, the owners have put us in this situation, and fans have got every right to protest. I know a lot of people went to the training. There's a little group that went, and you think does that cause the disruption? But it's not, like I said, not an excuse. Should be doing better.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Natalie hit pretty much on the head. It was kind of a game where Leeds didn't want to get another good hiding off United after they were so open in the first game. And I think also, following on from Natalie again, was so much hype around this European Super League. Just how much has it affected the players? Because we don't really know, because we're not in the heads. It just seemed a bit of a damp squib, really. And unfortunately, there's just not really a lot to say about it. It was disappointing, really. But one plus you got to take is we've still got that unbeaten away record. So it is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel with the result, just obviously not the result we wanted.
So we're not going to win the league, but I bet every United fan was thinking, you know what, if we win every one of our games, let's say we win every one, what could happen? And quite clear about all his comments at the end, he was thinking the same thing. He was thinking, let's just keep winning our games, let's make it as difficult as we can for City. Yeah, we're not playing for anything else. So, obviously, apart from Europe. So let's see how difficult we can make it for City. You never know. All they need to do is lose one and draw one, and everything gets really exciting. So the players turned up at that game against Leeds knowing, we can't lose, but we've absolutely got to win. So we keep talking about big game mentality. We keep talking about, have we progressed, to go back to a debate a few podcasts ago. And it's just a game like this that just demonstrates to me that are we really progressing? Ollie picks exactly the same team. It's almost as if he thought, well, it worked before, so let lightning strike twice. It just typifies his management style, his thinking, his mentality. And so I'm not surprised. Once you saw that team, I would have said, well, I would have been happy with that team. I was happy with that team. I'm like, well, why are you changing the winning formula? Get the team that's been delivering results for you for the last few weeks. I'm all for win the game first and then let everybody rest. Not let everybody rest and try and bring them on with 10 minutes to go to try and change the game. It's almost impossible. So I'm actually secretly fuming.
It was a strange game because I thought, like, watching it, we controlled it. I thought, like, the tempo, we controlled the tempo without sort of like getting into third and fourth gear. I thought like, we were always on top. I didn't think United were in any danger whatsoever. I just thought it was like an end of season game that just nothing, mattered. It was just a 0-0, and then we went on to the next game. Yeah. there wasn't much that we could get from that game, was it? It was a pretty dour game, wasn't it? There was not much tempo in it, and I just kind of feel that, you know, I don't think that he needed to start with two holding midfielders, and I think Bielsa made sure that his team didn't concede. So again, he went with Phillips with a man marking job on Fernandez, and then you kind of think with 6 minutes left, is there any really point of putting Cavani on? You know, that's what I felt towards the end, and I just thought, deep down himself, I think Ollie was kind of happy with the draw. You know, I mean, he won't publicly come out and say that, but again, I suppose you look at the positives. It's 24 away games unbeaten, isn't it? So, you know, you just start with what you finish with.
Sorry, mate. Well, let's talk about what we learned. We learned that Phillips is exactly what we need in our team. So we've got McTominay, we've got Max, you know, and we've got Fred. And Phillips just did exactly what both of them can't do every single week in, week out. So he demonstrated that's what a centre midfield player can do. So that was the first thing. The second thing is James. I like James, but he's getting in the way. You know, you've got to understand that you are limited as a footballer. So let the big boys do what they need to do. Okay, I reckon in 2 or 3 years' time, you might be able to be a useful member of the squad. But as of now, you're there to learn. You're there to do your job. Don't get in the way. I mean, there was an obvious goal opportunity that he just messed up, and he keeps doing that. And that's for Rashford missing those chances up front. It's just, again, I go back to it again. It's just mentality, and it's driving me balmy. And it's like, I don't know how we fix this.
Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.
The protests at Old Trafford and the fans protesting against one, the Glazers and the ownership of the club and the European Super League, but also as well, the other thing that I would like to concentrate on after that is obviously fans coming back into the game and how important the fans are and will always be. So, Natalie, if I go with you, how did you feel about the protests and were you involved in them?
I thought it was right, it was proper. It's time now to get our club back. I'm really big for the 50+1 kind of movement and the fans having a say, whether it's, I've heard like season tickets holders, whether it starts off with them sort of voting on things, just, you know, the game is nothing without fans. So the fact that they did this European Super League, you know, closed kind of shop, the rich getting richer, and they thought that no one would batter an eyelid at it, and they thought they could just get away with it, and they thought that it's what people want. I mean, how stupid must you be to think that you're going to get away with that and no one's going to say anything? Or whether they just thought, you know, other teams would like it, or there's more kind of these, I hear what they're saying like fans of players and stuff. And you know, what really upset me was the legacy fan bit. I mean, we've just talked about me being in the Green Man and all this, and you know, that's what it's about. That's what everyone loves. 16 to 24-year-olds are, you know, really the reason why they're not watching it is because they can't afford it. I'm struggling to afford it, and I'm a bit older than that, but God, I only started going when I was like 21 because I couldn't afford it as a teenager. So if I can't afford it as a teenager, it's gone up now even more. So, you know, there's no kind of incentive to get young people into it, you know, £10 tickets or something, you know. So what, you know, I don't know where they've been. They're just up their own heads thinking about how much more money they can make.
Me, Nigel and Errol grew up together, and we can remember like going to games. And I was thinking about just what you said there. Now, between 16 and 24 was the time that I actually stopped going because, one, I'd left school, my dad wasn't paying for me anymore, and secondly, I was working at a weekend. So most people can't get that, either they're at college or they're students, so they've got to get a Saturday job. I mean, what did you think of those comments, Errol, about the 16 to 24?
Yeah, it's very true, because a lot of 16 to 24-year-olds are basically either in higher education or they're in the lower end scale of becoming a paid adult. So you're sort of finding out what real life's all about. And becoming an adult, unfortunately, your money has more important issues. I mean, going back to when we used to go, when I was a kid, I think I used to pay about £2 to get in. I mean, you wouldn't get that now. It's just impossible. And hitting on what Natalie said about the £10, a fantastic idea, but it doesn't pay, unfortunately. And I can't see United ever doing anything like that. I know the noisy neighbours do things like that, but that's because obviously they struggle to get the fans in. But it's difficult because you want to bring the new generation through, follow it on from our generation, and we followed on from our dads and that. But it's so difficult because everything's so expensive. So I think a lot of the young kids, you know, they'd rather probably go and buy a nice pair of trainers or a tracksuit than pay 40, 50 quid for the ticket for an hour and a half entertainment. People like Perez and the Glazers, they're not football people. You've got to remember now, from the league becoming the Premiership, it's become a business, and it's nothing more than a business now. Entertainment is second class to what's going on. It's all about making the money. And people like the Glazers, the view is, well, if we hit the Champions League every year, we're making money. So they're not bothered. They're not bothered. And this Super League was a joke, because if you're getting 350 to 450 million per season, you don't even have to win it. So where's the incentive to win it? 450 million to the Glazers, they're laughing, they're rubbing their hands.
I think just hold on, Nigel, just to let everybody know, the 50+1, obviously, the 50+1 policy that they have in German football is that basically 51% of any club in the Bundesliga have to be owned by the fans, and then the 49% is owned by whoever. That's the model that they want to bring over here.
Yeah, and I guess I really do appreciate what Andy Burnham's doing. I mean, at least he's already kind of insisted on making representations to the government that at least season ticket holders, the 50+1 rule applies to them. So, okay, we're not going to own the club yet. We can't afford to own the club yet. But at least any major decisions around, you know, direction of the club, ticket prices, hopefully, you know, that might be included. Yeah. And like in the case of other clubs where they had to change the colour of their strips and all that kind of thing, you know, there's a criteria of, okay, that decision has to be run by 51% of your, you know, supporters club. So those who buy season tickets, those who are kind of registered with the club. And I think that's a good first step. So, okay, you're not going to own 51%, but at least you've got some kind of representation. And hopefully that will go through. I mean, there's only one solution to it, which is to liturgize it so that at least the laws are changed in this country, so at least fans have more of a say. So, you know, I mean, of course, we've got a Tory government and we know what they're like, but hopefully that can actually go through. Are we a club or are we a brand? And, you know, that is a really important point. If we're a club, then we'll think about things like generation after generation, you know, having access to the club, having access to the dream, to the theatres of dream. If we're a brand and if we're a commercial entity, then the reality is there's rich parents and they're the ones that we're interested in who will buy it for their kids. And the rest of us can just watch it on TV.
Yeah. The people that are running it see it as a commercial entity, don't they? Exactly. We see it as a club. Yeah. But also, going back to the 50+1 model that they use in Germany, I think one of the most important things that Germany do, which is very, very well, is they have ex-footballers that are running the clubs. So they actually see things from a football perspective and not from a totally, you know, commercial view. I mean, you've got the 50+1, but I think we still got to remember that in Germany, Bayern Munich have won the league for the last 7 or 8 seasons. So it doesn't mean that it'll be more competitive. It's just that it's better run. Because I think the other thing, Natalie, if I can bring you onto this, because I think it's something that you've probably been, been sorting out in the last few years, and I'm sure we're all aware of it, is kickoff times. And I think clubs now have got to be more aware, especially when fans are going back to games, that we need better kickoff times, don't we, Natalie?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I remember going down to Norwich one day when they were in the Premier League, I think not last year, but the year before, and it's a 12:30 kickoff, and you waking up at 3 a.m, getting on a bus in Manchester to go down, and then, you know, even like Wembley, 12 o'clock, and it's just ridiculous, especially if you've got like 2 Manchester teams and you're asking them to get to Wembley. And I mean, I'm sure, no offense to you guys, but I never went when you used to have it at Villa Park and all that kind of stuff. They should bring things like that back. And, well, it's even for the FA, the Football Association, who are supposed to be more about the clubs. They're just about, you know, how can we get the most money? How can we maximise our profits as well. And, you know, I think when that ESL broke, it was a sad day for football because I think everyone sort of thought, wow, is this where we're at? Is this where we're at, where just money is going to rule everything? I mean, I think a lot of us sort of thought money rules it anyway. It is a business, but we never thought there'd be that cold, callous about it. And I think even, you know, I'm not saying I like the UEFA changes that they've done or anything like that, but I think it just made everyone sit up, like, and realise, wow, like, this is not football, and unless we change something drastically, this is the way it's going. And for me, I think, you know, I know you talked about the protest, but I was there on this Saturday. I'm looking to go again because there's going to be one just before Liverpool, and then we'll go on to the Liverpool game. But, you know, I think people should go there because, you know, it's the most time that I've seen football fans together, like Man United, Liverpool, Leeds, Liverpool, Chelsea, Brighton. Doesn't matter whose shirt, whose badge you got on. It made everyone realise, like, we all need to be one. And like you say, kick-off times, there's things like the Football Supporters Association. I'm sort of been in talks with them and stuff when setting up my club and my supporters club with the women's Barmy Army. So we try and do things for the women's supporters. And I know obviously most Man United supporters just do it for the men's, but I think things like ESL has really just got everyone together, and I think now we should stay together in a way. Not saying that, we should hug Liverpool fans and all this, but, you know, I think we've seen big things, you know, kick-off times. We've seen a social media blackout for racism, homophobia, abuse, things like this 16 to 25, so we don't lose the generation. You know, it's not just things that Man United should be shouting about. We should all be shouting about it together as one kind of football voice, I think.
It's a very good point. That I mean, Errol, I know that you watch, you know, quite a lot of Bundesliga like myself, and I mean, they do seem to get things right, don't they? Like kick-off times. I mean, I remember like a few years ago, Dortmund had to play on a Monday night. They tried to introduce Monday night football, and virtually the whole ground was empty because the fans just said, "We're not having it. It's Saturday. It's the weekend." Do the Bundesliga, Errol, have they got the fan culture right?
Maybe, but what I'm going to hit on you now is Nigel hit it there, global and Natalie with kickoffs. And what you got to realise is we're a global brand, which is why you have all these stupid kickoff times. Mm-hmm. It's all about selling to the highest bidders. That's what it's all about. That's why you kick it off at 12:30. You've got 5:30s. You've now gone to Friday nights. You've got Saturday evenings. You know, football at one point was on every single day. And it's all about selling to the highest bidders. And it'll always be like that because it's a commercial commodity. United is a global brand to them. To us, it's our club. And the only way to beat it is to come together as a United mouth, as all fans. Because the problem with United is the fan trusts and different supporters clubs all seem to diverse away from each other rather than coming as a collective. I don't know if you know, but there's a fans forum this Friday. Which fan supporters clubs get in to have their say?
Go on, who's?
There's going to be probably like, is it, it's must, isn't it, Man United Supporters Trust. And the feeling is that they kind of go along with what the club say. There's certain other fan forums and podcasts like ourselves, you'd never get invited in because you'd probably ask a question that will make them feel a little bit itchy about themselves. So,
Natalie, are you involved with club?
Mm-hmm. I'm sort of, involved in terms of with my Mullen Supporters Club. They are looking to be more diverse, to get more people involved, to, you know, have a representative from the women's side, from we have Rainbow Devils as well. So they do want to represent everyone. And I think if, you know, for example, I know the Red Army are big now, and they talk to the club, and they're pushing for like more atmosphere, and obviously that was their main aims. And to be fair, they've done really well, and they've got a lot of things right. They've got the music turned off, and people might think, oh, that's nothing, but that's big because then you can be singing and doing all that. And I think they were big for the 16 to 24s as well, because they see like you guys losing a generation, and I think I get where people probably think that must have just, you know, because they speak to the club. But I think you've got to speak to get what you want in a way, and there would be things that I would ask. I mean, I've said things and and people might think, oh, you can't say that in this kind of setting, but it's a shit. But it's sort of right, yeah. You've got to sort of phrase it in a way to them.
That's the only way the one voice thing will work. It's activism from the ground up. So you create a groundswell, you create a tsunami. It can't be avoided. Once you kind of put down the individual agendas, like you say, the Ollie and the Ollie outs, forget about that. Things have just moved on. It's way bigger than that. We're fighting for the soul of football. And okay, we've halted it slightly, and we can slightly celebrate. But it really is a time to really think about what the priorities are for fans. Issues around diversity, issues around the younger generation, issue about affordability and access to this game. It really is a case of coming together, having those conversations. But make no mistake, if we're one voice, then they can't avoid it, or they can't ignore a tsunami. Power to you, man.
Yeah, I mean, you guys made some really, really good points, and the points that sometimes upsets me is that, a lot of people, sort of like regard us with fans that don't come from Manchester, but yet when you're milling around on match day and you're outside Old Trafford, having something to eat or having a drink, there's so many working class people that it's the joy of the week coming there, having a pint or buying, a fanzine or being a part of it. There's always this sort of like finger pointing that, that our fans aren't from Manchester. Well, we know that the majority of fans within the city and the surrounding areas are United fans.
Absolutely.
And spend most of the money, a lot of their money, either by, buying season tickets. But a lot of people forget as well, people that contribute by getting satellite packages to watch the club. You're spending as much money on them a year than you are a season ticket just to make sure that you enjoy your team. So just to quickly let you know, the kickoff times that they usually have, I don't know if any of you guys are aware, but they're all to do with the overseas markets. So the 12:30 kickoffs, they're for like Asia and Australia.
Yep.
And then obviously for America, so they can get up early. The 5:30 kickoffs, again, they're for America, and that's for their market. And that's what our football's actually branded around. But the other thing that I wanted to say was, on obviously Sunday at Wembley, fans got to come back into the ground. How good did that look, and how good did it seem to see fans back at Wembley? And okay, there was only 8,000, but it felt like we're getting back to normality, didn't it? What did you think, Nigel?
Yeah, it's emotional, isn't it? I think there's no two ways about it. You hear the crowd going through it, and you think, brilliant. And of course, it was fascinating to see how. I mean, of course, you need to have had your COVID certificate now. So, you know me, I'm a bit of a conspiracy nut. I don't know if I'm happy about that, but the reality is, we all want, we all want to get back into these grounds and support our clubs. And so, yeah, it was a good day, and it was great to hear the noise again.
Yeah, it's brilliant because all we've had is artificial noise. Even the players, though, there's nobody there. It's just a noise. And the other side of it is how it affects the game. If you've got even 8,000 shouting for you or shouting you down, it can make a big difference to turning the games around if you're winning or losing. So getting them back in is a necessity. And as we all know, Matt Busby said it, without the fans, the game is nothing.
Yeah.
It was funny yesterday because I don't know about you, Natalie, but in the City Spurs game, one thing that I noticed was the referee, because there were actually fans there, his decision-making wasn't the same as the previous week.
Yeah, definitely. Fans influenced the ref so much. I mean, I think there was even like a little, last season they were saying the difference, like home advantage and things like that, when a ref is playing in front of a full Old Trafford, he'll make decisions maybe more for Man United. Not like in any biased way, but it's just subconscious in your mind if everyone's going to boo and, you know, get on your back, 75,000, you're going to think, oh, should I give that red card? Oh, no, I'll let him off. But it was more, the decisions were more neutral, not in favour of everyone. I think there was, like I said, there's a study that came out. So it is an actual thing. It's a real thing, you know, home advantage with it being when your fans are there, you know. And like what Errol just said, you know, Matt Busby says it's nothing without fans. It really is. And even just, I've seen speaking to my mate and just watching it, I'm not bothered. You're not bothered, but getting up for it, going to the ground, seeing your friends a couple of hours before getting in, whether you're rushing in or you're soaking it all in. And I just think that's what makes it, being around people.
The ground which ground in the Premier League do you think's the hardest one to referee? The referees say a particular ground is the hardest. Which one do you think it is?
I'd say Newcastle.
Newcastle. Natalie?
I'd say Old Trafford, but no, I think Palace maybe.
Palace. Okay, Nigel?
You say we're talking empty or full?
Full. When it's full.
Oh, full.
That's the hardest ground for a referee to referee at.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be the Jordan Land. It's got to be Newcastle.
All wrong. Do you want me to tell you?
Go on.
Goodison Park, because of the fans are that close to the pitch.
That makes sense. Yeah.
If you ever watch it, Everton, the referees say it's so hard. They get so many 60-40 decisions. It's true that.
Yeah, it's still quite
But anyway,
an ground, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Just while we're on a quiz one, quick one, yeah. News today, yeah. And I'll give you all a bonus point. We've got a player with the middle name Bertrand. If you can get it, yeah, I'll give you all a point. Which player is it?
Is it Eric Bailly?
Huh?
Eric Bailly. Eric Bertrand Bailly.
Correct. Eric Bertrand Bailly. That's it. Sorry, Natalie, he didn't give you a chance, did he?
That's fine.
But he got to sign a 3-year contract today. So does that mean that we're not getting a new centre half?
Probably. I was a massive shock. I mean, they said, oh, he's not going to sign. And I thought, oh, maybe he won't really sign. Maybe they're just putting it out there to pressure someone else. Or, you know what I mean? Like the media links. And the fact they actually did sign and, like you say, 3 years, I think he's a great defender, but he can hardly stay fit. And he sort of came out and said, oh, I'm fit now. Oh, that's what Phil Jones said every time.
It's exactly what I was going to say. It's Phil Jones all over again, isn't it? I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, I love the guy. I think everyone's going to say we love Eric. He's a great defender and is well and truly entertaining. But he can't stay fit. So what? So if we sign him, what are we saying? Are we saying that Twan Zaber's career's over? Are we going to get somebody else? Are we trying to get a fee for him if he does decide to go? It's just, I think it makes no sense in a week in which we're all a bit annoyed at the club.
Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.
Europa League semi-final against Roma. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm going to throw this at all three of you. Played AC Milan. We beat them. Two tight games. Are Roma better than AC Milan?
No, they're currently in seventh, Roma.
But it's one of those where sometimes playing in the cups relieves the pressure of the league, and they tend to play better. Mm-hmm. So do you see yourselves progressing past these than you would have AC Milan? It's a tricky tie because you can go into it looking at it like saying, well, they're not as good as AC Milan. Look where AC Milan in the league, but cups are different. You know, teams, again, like when we were talking the other week about the Super League, it's all about sometimes the teams that are classed as the minnows, even though Roma are nowhere near a minnow. I think you've got to be a little bit careful with this game and make sure we go in with the strongest two teams. And I think this goes back to Sunday's game. The problem I had with Sunday's game was, why risk Cavani and Van der Beek and Pogba if you're more bothered about this game? You know, you risk getting them injured. So it was an insult to Donny anyway. 2 minutes before the end? I mean, that's just... An amateur player would have want to come on. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And then why risk Pogba and Cavani? We know Cavani can't play 3 games. So for me, I wasn't bothered that he didn't play because I'm thinking he's looking to Thursday. Thursday's a more important game now. we're not going to win the league. Yeah, let's put the pressure on City all the way. But we're not going to win it. Let's go for this. He needs to win this. He really needs to win this. Otherwise, he's never going to sit at the top table with the top managers.
And I agree with Errol, and I don't want to sort of go on this or on that. I'm just sort of, this is it. This is like, it's like D-Day. I'm not saying it's that big, but it's just, I really want the guy to do well, Ellie, but I think, you know, Leicester really annoyed me, the fact that we couldn't beat them. You know, again, getting to, I know it wasn't the semi-final, but, you know, getting to a point and we just bottle it. And I think it's mentality. I don't know what it is. I mean, even last season we got to the semi-final and you just think, come on, be serious. I don't know what it is. I wish I could put my finger on it. I don't even know if he can put his finger on it.
It's a cup competition. Anything can happen. We've been the bridesmaid, never the bride so far under Ollie. And I totally agree with Natalie. If we just treat it like any other game, if we get our heads straight, then, and if Ollie doesn't interfere too much, then actually I think in theory it should be okay. But
I mean, it's quite interesting.
Well, I was going to ask you the question though. If let's say we don't get through, let's say we perform badly on Thursday, does that convince you, Mr. Club Steward Vernon, that it's that? I know we're not into Ollie out at the moment. There's bigger things at play, but does that convince you for next season that he's never going to be the guy if we don't get through this?
It's mentality, and I think he has to prove him and his players that they've got the mentality. I mean, I'll go back to like last season's semi-finals. The City, in the first leg we got outplayed, and in the second leg we played really, really well. We beat them at the Etihad, and then obviously we get Matic sent off, and I think we hit the bar in the last second or something, didn't we? Against Chelsea, I think a bit like Natalie with the Leicester game, the Chelsea semi-final last year just really angered me because we played with James up front, and I just thought, well, if you're going to start this lineup against Chelsea in a semi-final, you may as well have just gone out in the third or fourth round. Yeah. What's the point?
Well, you know, I'm just going to hit on something there because we keep mentioning mentality. Yeah, we've got players in this squad that have won things. So why can't they bring that onto the pitch with United again? You know, they've won the FA Cup, they've won the Europa League, they've won the League Cup, you've got a World Cup winner, you've got a Euros winner. What we say mentally is a block there.
I think the problem comes. So Pogba has got the mentality, but he's only one player. You know what I mean? And all too often over the last few years, the whole weight of the club is sat on his shoulders at times. You know what I mean? You can't do right for doing wrong. So I don't think and when I talk about mentality, I'm talking from the Glazers down to Ollie, really, and the fact that we're not set up to be the dominant, successful team that we're supposed to be.
I think
and I think when Ollie says things like, "Oh, Rashi," and "Oh, Harry," and it's all just a bit too nice and a bit too cozy. And I want a Roy Keane in there. That even when you practice, you know that famous clip when they were practicing and somebody passed the ball sideways. Was it like the guy that came from Leeds played passed the ball sideways, and Keane went mad at him and said, "That's not the way we play here." That's what I mean about mentality. You've come to United. It's a big club.
Right now, you feel that the broadcasters and the newspapers keep on building us up to be the favourites for the Europa League, so that when we get knocked out or, you know, we get beat by Roma, they can so totally sensationalise it, can't they? And they know that we'll get the most clickbait. I mean, for the broadcasters, the radio stations, the newspapers, it's better when we lose than we actually win, isn't it?
Because we're the biggest club on the on the planet, and that's always been that way. You know, in the 90s, literally we were playing against 11 men plus the referee every single game. It was standard, and we still did it because that's United DNA. You know what I mean? It's our backs against the wall. Everybody hates us. Everybody wants to beat us, including the FA.
Well, it was like
at times Fergie got sanctioned. It's because everybody hates us, but that's what United's all about. We don't care. We're still winning because we're United.
The biggest league game in English league football, which is United versus Liverpool. Now, Natalie, do you enjoy when Liverpool lose and you see no teeth and tonsils from Kloppy.
Yeah, of course you do. I love it. I love us to give him that defeat. You know, I'd love it. I mean, I don't want to sound like Kieran Kieran, but, you know, I do want to stick it to him. Let's keep him down there. Best champions that's ever been and all this kind of rubbish that they were saying, you know, bang, you know, we're making Champions League and we'll be the reason why. Thank you. You know.
I actually like Klopp. I think he's quite a likeable guy, and he's horse snatchers, you know, they're bright, aren't they? But apart from that, you know, he's a good coach, he's a good tactician, he plays his football in the right way, you know, he wants to go on the front foot and win games. His fatal mistake was actually believing his team was better than what they was. Now, to sort of be where they are and struggling to get in the top four shows you how hard it is to retain the Premier League. You know, we're the only one that have done it 3 times on the trot. And yeah, again, I'll shout the noisy neighbours. They keep telling us they're the best team in the world. They can't even get the treble that we did. You know, we've got a cousin who keeps telling us they've won a quadruple. Well, who's ever counted the Charity Shield? It's just a day out.
It is a
when
day out.
Mourinho was at United, how many trophies did he win?
Well, he won basically. He won the league.
How many did he win?
He won 2 in my eyes. He won the
Right.
Europa League and the League
Correct,
Cup.
because nobody ever mentions the Charity Shield. And even himself, he'll say, I won Europa League and the League Cup. So since when did the Charity Shield really become a recognised trophy? It's nice if you win it. If you don't, are you bothered? No.
It's a day out for the fans at the beginning of the season.
It's a curtain raiser.
Yeah. How do you feel going into the game knowing, that, well, we could ensure that they don't get European football this year?
Right. What you have to understand is, and I don't know about you guys, but I know so many Liverpool fans. So many, and they are. I mean, we talk about our noisy neighbours. There's nobody noisy like the Scousers. It's my greatest joy when we stick it to them, and so I'm just looking forward to us just battering them. There's no sentiment here. Yes, we're going to unite, and we're going to do the right thing with regards to the bigger agenda. But when that whistle blows for 90 minutes, we've got to batter them. Just got to. Because I know too many, and they're so loud, I can hear them now, mate. And so I love nothing more than just battering them.
To me, I don't know about you, Natalie, but it's a bigger game than facing City. It's the game that I look forward to more than the derby.
100%. Always got to beat Liverpool, home and away. I mean, if you get a point, I mean, we should have beaten them at Anfield, really. I couldn't believe it towards the end and all that. But yeah, let's listen to them. I mean, the last game, you know, where it was just sort of like backs against the wall, like it feels now, and then Rashford scored that goal. Remember, he sort of like put Trent on his backside and slid it in. And yeah, that was just, and the way when you say the fans, the way everyone just went mental for that. And I was at the Stretty then, and I was buzzing, and yeah, that's what makes it worth it. Because I remember even like walking to the ground and I know it can get a bit on top, but there's like police, and you just like, you feel it, and you hear them singing. It just gives it you all. It just the goosebumps. It's what you
It's like that great feeling at kickoff when they start singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," and the whole ground is jeering and booing, and the cauldron, the actual cauldron that it becomes, and you know that sort of, you know that it's like you say, you know, you get goosebumps there, you know, the hair on your back start tingling, and you know you can feel it. And I think like with that Rashford's goal, it was because obviously he's one of us, isn't he? You know, one of us, and the way that he ran to the crowd, and that, you know, there's just something fantastic about that fixture, isn't there?
It's making me think about my greatest moments, you know, the United-Liverpool rivalry. And obviously I can remember Gary Neville running the full length of the pitch to go and celebrate in front of their fans. I can remember the white suits. It's the white suits?
Yeah.
In the FA Cup final. And then Eric Cantona was breaking the hearts. It's like, there's so many great memories.
Yeah,
what about you, Errol?
Yeah, I mean, for me, He's one, because my idol was Mark Hughes, and Vernon will remember this. When we were playing in school, I played in Vernon's year, and I scored a bicycle kick like usually against Lostock, who was like our derby, and my dad was there. It was one of the best goals I've scored in my life. But for me, it was a Mark Hughes goal. I think it's at Old Trafford, and he absolutely thumped it, and it just dipped over Grobler. And it was just like, wow, this guy's got some awesome power. It's just it's a game that the hairs on your neck go up, and you're like, you don't want to go home with nothing less than a win, even a draw. Most games you say, yeah, a draw's not so bad, but in this game, everything's a win. And like you're saying about Rashford being one of our own, these kids know this from playing in the academy. When they play Liverpool, it's just as big. It's a must-win game.
One of my favourites has got to be Juan Mata's
scissor
kick there, because the funny thing was but the week before the game, I was actually in Zimbabwe, and obviously I was watching their equivalent of Sky, and all the talk was that Liverpool were going to beat us, and it was a game where Steven Gerrard came on and got sent off after 16 seconds. Was it a minute or whatever?
Yeah.
But it was just, and I think as well, when Raphael scored that great, when he curled it into and it hits the post and it went in. I think those games, it's when we're seen as the least favourites, and we go there and just give them a good hiding. Anyway, I'm going to ask you guys for a quick prediction. So I'm going to go with you, Natalie, first.
I want it to be 3-1 Man United. I hope it is. I'm going to stick with that, yeah.
We'll go with that.
I'll go 2-1.
2-1. And here we go, Nigel.
Oh, we're going to get battered. No, but seriously, I because the game is just so romantic, I can see a Cavani hat-trick. His goodbye to us. He's going to score a hat-trick. He's just going to...
El Matador.
So I'm seeing 4-1 because Bruno's going to get one as well.
Anyway, I'm going to go for my traditional 1-0 win against Liverpool. I always go for 1-0 against Liverpool, and we'll keep it tight. So, guys, that brings us to the end of another Red Shirt podcast. So, as usual, I'd like to say a big thank you to our guest, Natalie. Thank you very much for participating and coming on. And we'd love you to come back again. Errol, thank you very much. And also, Natalie, I'd like to give a big shout out to you and the podcast that you're on, All for United. You do a great job, you and Jonathan and the other guys. And, I always support them and give it a watch. And it is a good watch.
Thank you.
All United fans out there. And Nigel, that brings me to you, my friend, where we have to say, love football, keep safe, and
keep that red flag flying. We're going to buy this guy.
Okay.
Guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, please.
Thanks,
Thank
Dad.
you.
The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.